So as you can tell from the title of this video, I've transferred my stocks and shares ISA from Hargreaves Lansdown to Vanguard. And in this video, I just wanted to cover some of the features of both providers and then eventually get around to my reasoning as to why I made this change. So stick around to the end of the video to find out why. Just to get this out of the way with, I am not a financial advisor. This is purely for entertainment purposes and you should conduct your own research. I also have no links to either of these providers. So firstly, I just wanted to cover the main difference really between the two providers when it comes to the stocks and shares ISA, and that is the fund choices available. With Hargreaves Lansdown, you have a massive catalogue of fund choices, and you can even invest in individual stocks if you want as well. Whereas with Vanguard, they have roughly about 77 funds, and with Vanguard you can only invest in Vanguard funds, whereas with Hargreaves Lansdown you can choose from different providers like UBS, Halifax, or also Vanguard as well. For me, that wasn't really a big decision as to why I moved, because the funds that are available with Vanguard are really, you can get plenty of diversification at a low cost, and it really doesn't make much of a difference to me. I guess to more sophisticated investors, that would make a big difference as to how they construct their portfolio. But for me, as I say, it doesn't make much of a difference. And one of the reasons I did move from Hargreaves Lansdown to Vanguard was due to the costs. Don't get me wrong, they're both very competitive when it comes to costs. However, the transparency of how much I was actually paying on Hargreaves Lansdown was slightly confusing, to say the least. So if you look on their website, they show an annual management charge of 0.45%. So when I first opened up my ISA, I thought that would be the maximum annual management charge I get for the provider. Typically, you have a provider charge and a fund charge for depending on the investments you hold within the product the wrapper that you choose. So for me, I thought that 0.45% was the annual management charge for the provider, which I think it may be, and it is capped because it does say on the website, does include ETFs, REITs, etc. So I believe that is the cap. However, I'm just not sure because I've seen different opinions online, and still I wasn't paying up to that 0.45%. And with Vanguard, I'm certainly still a lot cheaper. It does have to be mentioned though, with Vanguard, you need a minimum deposit of £500, whereas with Hargreaves Lansdown, you can start an account from as little as £1. So that's definitely a factor that would affect some beginner investors, but for myself, it really wasn't a game changer because I was transferring from my previous ISA, which had more than £500 in it. So to compare that, if you look at the Vanguard website, they have a platform fee of 0.15%. And then within there, you also pay a fund management charge as well, depending on the investments that you choose. So for me, I am invested in the S&P 500 ETF, which carries a 0.05% OCF charge, which comes to around 0.23%, which is still really, really cheap, don't get me wrong. They do also have additional costs sometimes for bid offer spread. On average, that for me has been about 0.05%, which hasn't added on too much. There is also transaction costs. So if you're trading ETFs, they do have the live price functionality. So you will have to pay £7.50, I think roughly, if you want to buy in at certain prices. But to avoid that, I just choose the at best. So on costs, it doesn't actually seem like there's that much of a difference. However, if you follow any of my previous content or follow me on any social medias, you'll know the power of compounding interest. And these small changes in the fees make a long impact on your money over the long term. What may seem like a small amount of charges actually compounds over the long term, and you could actually be losing quite a lot of money over the long term depending on the fees. And perhaps my confusion with the Vanguard costs might come from their user interface, just because it isn't as friendly as Vanguard. And that does take me on to the main reason as to why I moved over to Vanguard, and that was for the user interface. Although I really did like the Hargreaves Lansdown app on my mobile, it was easy to use, it was pretty simple, it had everything at the touch of a button, and it was a mobile app, whereas Vanguard don't offer a mobile app. Their user interface is just a lot better and it packs a lot more features. So if you go over onto the Personal Investor website, you can see some of my favorite features. So firstly, pound cost averaging. If you don't know what that is, quickly, it is where you pay in an amount over different periods. So you'll buy in at a low price, say 200, then you might buy in at 250 the next month, then 300, and then back down to 200. So you're averaging out the price that you buy in at effectively. That is a tool that I utilize with my investments, keeping it simple, paying in each month and buying in at different prices. And if you go over to the unit holdings in your Vanguard account, you can actually see where you've bought in at different prices. It also shows the average price that you bought in. And for me, for beginner investors, that's just such a good education piece. And it's just good to keep track of and seeing where you've been buying in regards to the movement in the market as well. Obviously, you can see the markets have kind of come back for myself at the end there. Another great feature as well that links into kind of the education piece for new investors or young people is also in the Insights tab. So if you look in there, it shows you where your money is spread out throughout. So because I'm in the S&P 500, which is a list of basically the top 500 companies in America, it shows all of it in North America. Then it shows the breakdown of, so you've got Apple, Microsoft, you've got a bit of Tesla in there, broken down depending on how much money is invested in each of them. And then you've also got it broken down into sectors, so you can see the sectors. And each fund will have a different sheet here. They've also got the Vanguard FTSE All Cap, which is or the All World, which are both really popular. And on that map, you would see the allocation spread out throughout different parts of the world. So again, that's just a really good educational piece for anybody beginning investing or any young people. To wrap it up, I can't just talk about the positives of this change. Of course, there are some negatives. And for me, one of them is that I have a lifetime ISA. I would really have liked if Vanguard provided a lifetime ISA. And at the time of recording, August 2022, God, time moves fast. Anyway, August 2022, they do not support a lifetime ISA. And it would have been nice to have both my lifetime ISA and my stocks and shares ISA within the same provider so that I can use this amazing user interface as well between the two. I was also quite disappointed when I first started with Vanguard, the fact that they don't have a mobile app. It feels like every investment platform should really have a mobile app nowadays. I guess it's not a major factor when you're paying low charges, I guess. But for me, it would be nice to see an app in the future. So just to round that up, hopefully you found that useful, and that was just a quick insight into my change from going from Hargreaves Lansdown to Vanguard. I know these are both really popular for new beginner investors, and really for a lot of people it just doesn't matter. But I can safely say that it's been a positive change for me, and I'm glad I did it. I like the new interface. I like the costs, the lower costs. But at some point in the future, I would like to see that app coming in, and also the lifetime ISA. That would be nice to see, so that I can hold them all under the same app and the same user interface. So hopefully that comes at some point in the future. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe, and comment down below if you've tried any of these providers and what your opinion were. And also, if you know any other good providers that you think I should have a look at, then please comment down below.